if you want to get a picture of what this life is like, it's something like water that we sent down from the sky. I'll translate quickly, then we'll contemplate these words. فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ. Then that water, because of it, the grains in the world and all the material in the soil, anything that can grow is called nabat. Grass can be called nabat, trees can be called nabat, fruits can be called, flowers can be called nabat. Nabat is the word for all vegetation, all greenery, all plant life you can call nabat. So the water mixes with all of these nutrients on the earth. فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ. And of course, when rain comes from the sky that Allah is talking about, and the earth becomes green, flowers grow, grass grows, trees grow, farm grows, all of it grows, then you would think Allah will next talk about how beautiful it gets, how colorful it gets. And He talks about that in other places. But here, He says something else. He says, فَأَصْبَحَ هَشِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحُ. Then that same crop that grows, He didn't even mention the crop, He says it mixes with the soil and eventually it becomes this word hashim. And hashim in Arabic is al-muhattam. It's something dried up that has no moisture in it and can easily break and is stepped on. Basically what He's describing is dried up leaves. Dried up leaves and twigs that fall off of a tree, or grass that dies, that you step on and makes crunchy sounds, and it's worthless. And the wind just blows it off and actually creates dust and pollen problems or allergies for you. All of that stuff is coming from the dirt and the broken up leaves and all of that stubble that's around in the world. So He's describing now this life starts off with water from the sky, and then eventually it just turns into just broken up leaves that people step on. They don't even realize. If you were stepping on something valuable, if you were stepping on your new phone, you would be like, you wouldn't put your full weight on it the moment you felt a little bit of the crunch, but you don't think twice when you step on a leaf. You don't think twice when you step on a pebble. It's worthless, right? And it's blowing around. If cash was blowing around, you would have a heart attack. But if leaves are blowing around, you don't think twice about it. This is worthless stuff. And that's why in the Quran, things that blow with the wind are considered worthless, like haba. And other images in the Quran, when things blow in the wind, they're actually considered weightless and worthless. And one of the scariest descriptions of Judgment Day is some people, their deeds will be scattered like dust or ashes. فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Allah describes. So we seek Allah's refuge from our deeds being turned into scattered dust on Judgment Day and not having any weight. But anyway, coming back to this remarkable parable, how is it that I can benefit from this example? Other than just saying, well, Allah gives life and then we die. The plant grows and then the plant dies. Great, now what? But actually, if you dig a little deeper and you contemplate especially the end of this ayah, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُقْتَدِرًا. Allah has been in complete control over all things. And the word for Allah's control, you find three different words in the Quran. You find qadir, you find qadir, and here you find actually sirat al-mubalagha in a sense, from iqtadar, it's muqtadir. Muqtadir. And actually, the way they translate that is actively in control. Allah is actively in control. And overwhelmingly in control over all things. That's what Allah says at the end. Now let's go back. In this life, the first thing Allah wanted me to think about is the fact that He sends water from the sky that mixes with the soil. So there's something happening with the sky and there's something happening with the earth. Every fruit that you eat, every piece of meat that you and I eat, every bit of vegetation that you and I see is a result of water that came from the sky. You know what else comes from the sky? What comes from the sky is always the rizq from Allah, the command from Allah, the guidance from Allah. Everything that Allah gives us that is purposeful comes from the sky. The angels come from the sky with a mission. The angels that are here go up and report to the sky and they come back from the sky. Laylatul Qadr, the angels are descending. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. Right? So when Allah sends something from the sky, it has a purpose. It comes for a mission. And so what does it do for a believer? What it does for a believer is every leaf inside it is the command of Allah. Every fruit, every orange has inside it the water that came from the sky, that came from the command of Allah. And every time something comes from the sky, it has to have a purpose. So everything becomes purposeful, and in everything I see that it's related to a command from Allah descending from the heavens. Everything. It changes my view of all life. I don't see any bird the same way. I don't see any food the same way. I don't see the greenery, a tree the same way. All of them are directly a result, and they have inside, mixed within them, is the water that came from the sky. And the water that comes from the sky is actually the command of Allah. And it's interesting that water coming from the sky is compared in the Quran with revelation coming from the sky. You know that in Surah Al Hadid, for example, Allah talks about people who lost touch with revelation and their hearts became hard. And in the very next ayah, He says, "إِعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا." You should know Allah gives life to the earth after it was dead. Like your heart can come back to life with the word of Allah, like the rain brings the grass back to life. That's what it says. Now, what does that have to do with you and me? Let's come back to that. All of you have different crises. Every one of you has a different drama going on in your life. And when I say drama, some of you looked at the person next to you like, this is the drama, I just drove with them to Jama'at. But on a more serious note, whatever struggles we're going through, whatever we're experiencing in this life, we have to first understand that none of it would have been happening if Allah's command wasn't there. And there was some purpose, there was a reason for which it was happening. And everything we're going through, Imam al-Qurtubi commenting on the ayah said something so beautiful. Why did Allah make me focus so much on water? Because water doesn't stay in the same place. Water mixes with other things. Water is constantly moving and changing. And if you try to keep water in the same place, it goes bad. So actually, Allah designed this life to constantly go through changes. So those of you that got uprooted from your home and you're in a different place and you say, I miss my village, I miss my home, why can't I just go back? Why can't I do this? Why can't I have that old job back? Why did I have to do that? Why did we have to move to this neighborhood? Why did I have to, why? I hate change, I hate change. Allah says you made life full of change. You can't keep anything the same. Anything that Allah's command came into, like the water that came into a fruit, if you look at that fruit, what's happening slowly? It's losing its water, and it's getting dry, and it's eventually going to die. Right? It's going to go. So the experiences we have in this life, the good that we have in this life is temporary. And the bad that we have in this life is also temporary. The tough stuff is also temporary. And all of that is a command of Allah. So then if that's all temporary, then what's permanent? If everything's just going to go, the good is going to go, the bad is going to go. What you think is a huge problem today, tomorrow you'll look back like, oh my God, I used to think that was a huge problem. This is a huge problem. I prefer that problem. Because that's gone now, and you have something new to deal with. But human beings forget that the beginning of all it is water. And what did Allah mention in the first part? He mentioned water. And what did He mention at the end? Completely dried up, right? The lack of water. So you know what? There's something in between. In between is the greenery, is the good things in life. It's the ups and downs of life. It's the changes in life. But you know what? It becomes easier to deal with that stuff when you go back and you realize, well, you and I were just drops of water too. That's all we were. And eventually we're going to be reduced to nothing inside of the dirt. That's the beginning and the end. And everything else we're experiencing is just the stuff in between. This is just an episode in between. Or multiple episodes in between. And they will come to pass. They will go. These experiences will come and go. Nothing is permanent. What happens to some of us? Somebody sitting here had something bad happen to them, and they think about that every day. And they review it in their head every day. And they get sad about it every day. And they talk about it every day. And they remind others about it every day. They're stuck in it over and over and over again. You're stagnating. This is not how Allah meant life to be. You had a tough experience, yes. Nobody's denying it. But it's time for you to take today and not live in yesterday. You have to keep moving. Or you're rotting yourself. Because if you try to keep it the same and preserve, nothing stays preserved. No matter how bad you want the flower to live forever, the flower will wither. But you know what's incredible about those flowers that die on a tree? Every time one dries, another one grows in the next season. And this is the nature with which Allah made things, where one problem happens or something is taken away from you, Allah replaces it with something else. When one good thing starts getting weaker, another good thing comes in a different place, in a different form. And that's the nature with which Allah created life.